and welcome everyone to this twinning online seminar called Content and Language Integrated Learning, a methodology to use for creative lesson plans. Participants will get to know about the approach, its principles, and how to manage a lesson. And furthermore, they will be provided with ideas about a possible content and language integrated learning lesson on the topic environmental care. So, without going further, I would like to pass the floor to Angeliki and Marina Screpanti. Thank you very much for being here today. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marta. Good afternoon to you all. Welcome here to one more learning online seminar organized by the Creative Classroom Group, just 2 days after the eTwinning annual conference, the very interesting and inspiring annual conference focused on the climate change. Creative Classroom Group has the honor to host today Marina Screpanti, a group member and a primary school teacher from Chieti, Italy, with a specific expertise in European cooperation and project planning, digital teaching and CLIL. Marina is an expert in the planning and management of European projects, especially Erasmus Plus and eTwinning. She is also an eTwinning ambassador for Abruzzo, her region. Currently, she has been working as a teacher's trainer for the publishing house Pearson. She is the co-author of the book Pop English, edited by Pearson, a textbook for primary school students. Lately, she published for Pearson her book Little Citizens, CLIL Agenda 2030 per la Scuola Primaria, written together with Letizia Cinganotto, researcher in Italy. She is the author and the tutor of the e-learning platform Il CLIL and lo sviluppo delle competenze by Pearson Academy. She has been one of the authors of the scientific teaching magazine NGN, Gulliver News, where she writes teaching articles every month since 2013. And today she will present us CLIL as a methodology for creative lesson plans. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and many compliments for your Italian. But you know that I know your Italian. You are very good. I'm very glad to stay here, and I thank the Creative Classroom and Angeliki that invited me to talk about CLIL, which is a learning approach that I really love. I don't know what are your experiences in CLIL, but I hope that after this seminar you will have at least one try. Okay, so let's go inside the presentation. CLIL, what is CLIL? It's important to understand what CLIL is, because normally we find books that are full of pages that are called CLIL activities, but they are just pages that students have to fill with names or words, etc. But they are not CLIL, because CLIL is a plan, is a process. And we will see this process during the presentation. So it's important to underline that CLIL is dual focused. So the teaching approach is focused both on content and on language. So we have to reach content objectives and the language objectives at the same time. The first time it was mentioned was in 1978, so very, very in the past, so by the European Commission. And then the first mention of CLIL was in 1995, and then by the Council of Europe, it was developed and developed and developed. So we have to think that it's the acronym CLIL means Content and Language Integrated Learning. And I talked to you about the fact that it is dual focused. So it's an umbrella term in which a foreign language is used as a tool in a not language subject. So normally the non-language subjects are history, geography, science, but also physical education, technology, etc. There are many definitions of CLIL, so let's read the ones we have here. So by the European Commission, content and language integrated learning, in which pupils learn a subject through the medium of a foreign language. In fact, we have to underline that the language is not learned following the curricula, but sometimes it can happen that a student can learn something that is in the curricula of another class, but that he can find in a clear lesson at that precise moment. CLIL refers to situations where subjects or part of subjects are taught through a foreign language with dual focused aims. And these bring students to learn both content and language. CLIL provides exposure of the language without requiring extra time. And this is very important because sometimes when we teach through CLIL, we reach, in 1 hour, we reach the objective of a foreign language, and then we reach the objective of a non-language subject. The other definition is an approach to bilingual education in which both curriculum content, such as science or geography, and English are taught together. It differs from simple English medium education in that the learner is not necessarily expected to have the English proficiency required to cope with the subject before beginning study. We will talk about the development of the language through the presentation, as you will find a lot of scaffolding, language scaffolding, because language scaffolding is necessary for students to talk about the subject. And another fact that is very important is that the subject through CLIL must be manipulated. So students have to work inside and with the subject. CLIL is a mix of teaching strategies. So it's, first of all, it's task-based learning. And then it's also game-based learning. It's real, it's total physical response, it's project-based learning. It is also space learning. I don't know if you know this methodology, but it's something that creates a sort of small intervals between the learning. So the CLIL approach creates a real communicative context. In which sense? Students receive tasks. So they receive tasks and they have to accomplish these tasks. They have to collaborate and to talk, to use the language to work on the subject together. In this way, students move their attention from the language to the topic of the lesson. And in this way, the lessons are more motivating because students learn while chatting, speaking, solving problems together. So the only objective of the students is communicating in order to solve the problems or to accomplish the task the teacher gives them. The principles. So, content matter is not only about acquiring knowledge and skills, but it is about learners creating their own knowledge and understanding. In fact, as I said before, students have to think, reflect, manipulate, handle with the subject's tasks. Language is learned while learning. So they are not aware of the fact that they are studying a language, but they just think that they have to solve a problem or accomplish a task during the lesson. Then it's very important, CLIL considers interaction in the learning context fundamental. In fact, tasks are mostly developed together, collaborating and communicating in small groups. It is possible in this precise moment to work in CLIL, even in distance learning. So we can do it also in distance learning. There are lots of web tools that can help us and help students collaborate. And then there is also intercultural awareness, which is fundamental in CLIL. So as we said, CLIL is task-oriented, and I think that the most difficult thing in CLIL is to plan the lessons, because we have to think that the tasks must follow the Bloom pyramid. So they must start from learning the words and then go up to the pyramid. So for example, just from remembering, then understanding, applying, analyzing something, evaluating, and then it must finish with the creation of a product. So this pyramid is fundamental to CLIL. Every lesson must start from the base and go to the top. Okay. Normally we say that we start from the lots, so the low levels of thinking skills, and we must go up towards the HOTS, so the high objective of the high level of thinking skills. These are the verbs that can help us plan the activities. So if you consider, for example, remember, I want to show you again this phase, remembering, which is the lowest. You can be helped by this slide because you can choose your activities considering these verbs. So for example, choose, enumerate, group, label, list, listen, locate, match, etc., etc. So when we work with these activities, we are working with the lowest thinking skills. Then we have to go up, understanding, for example. So if we ask to annotate, classify, convert, define, discuss, explain, we are working in understanding. Then applying, just a little bit up. So calculate, change, collect, construct, demonstrate. You can read the verb by yourself, but you can understand that it's something that goes up and up. Then analyzing. So you ask your students to use a highest level of thinking skills. Then evaluating, which is another step, and then creating. Normally when we teach, I think that we are in remembering, understanding, and applying. Sometimes we have the time to analyze, but not very often to evaluate and create. What about the coexistence of L1 and L2? It is very important because sometimes as students must communicate to accomplish the tasks, if their English level is not very good, they need an important language scaffolding. And it's very important for teachers to plan and to prepare this language scaffolding. But you can also leave your students use a little bit of L1, I mean the mother tongue. So in case the discussion inside the group is very difficult, they can use a little bit of foreign language and a little bit of mother tongue. The more they will study the foreign language, the more they will use just the second language. What are the expectations? So what does CLIL expect to achieve? The overall goals include the developing of communication skills, obviously, the language, the foreign language, but not only the foreign language, also the creation of a thought, providing opportunities to study content through different perspectives, also intercultural perspectives, accessing subject-specific target language terminology. It's what we call micro-language, developing thinking skill and the ability to solve problems. And this is very important. As we said before, CLIL is not just studying a language, it's not just studying a subject, but it's manipulating the subject. So really understanding the subject, because students must learn the subject working on tasks, trying to understand, to analyze, to debate, to discuss, to evaluate things that are part of the subject. Then helping students acquire the ability to work together and collaborate. As we said, CLIL is communication in groups. Diversifying methods and forms of classroom practice. Yes, obviously. But I must say that CLIL, the methodology, if you understand the real value of the methodology, you can also use this method, this approach in your language. I mean, studying, for example, history in your language, because it's the method that is very interesting. So in this case, we are considering CLIL to reach a double objectives, language and content. But if you want to use the CLIL methodology using your language, you must bear in mind that it's a really good methodology, because it asks students to manipulate the content. And then it increases the learner's motivation, and it prepares for internationalism. So these points are often expressed by the 4C that are content, cognitive, cultural, and communication. When you plan a CLIL lesson, you have to consider these 4C. This is called the 4C model by COIL. Content, obviously, then the communication, which is everything that affairs to the language. The cognitive, all the thinking skills you ask your students to put into the lesson. And then the cultural, so the intercultural communication, the intercultural aspects. So this is what I said before, okay? And then it's really important. As I said before, you don't follow a program, a language program. You can follow a subject program, but not a language program, because the language is born from the lesson. You can think about what the students need to accomplish the tasks you prepare, but sometimes new language is born from the lesson. So CLIL language learning approach is similar to the way children learn their mother tongue. When you teach your children, for example, how to speak, they use the plural, but they don't know the plural rule, or they use, I don't know, some verbs, but they don't know that it's infinitive or passive or something. So they just talk. So if we want to use this sentence is really good. By Krashen, children acquire a language unconsciously, focusing on the meaning and not on the form. So we don't have to ask our students to focus on the form, because this stops the communication. And also, if they do mistakes, we don't have to correct them. We can repeat the sentence, but without stopping them. The communication is the most important thing. So what happens in normal foreign language lessons? Generally, there is an insufficient exposure to the language, because in 1 hour they talk about, I don't know, in Italy, I'm talking about Italy, but they talk, if we are lucky, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And the children are exposed to a part of the language and to a specific theme of the language. In the case of CLIL, this doesn't happen. They are exposed to a wide range of language. So if we want to quantify the teacher speaking time during a CLIL lesson and the student speaking time, so the 85% is the time students speak, and the 15 teachers, but also less. Okay, so the advantages in students working with the CLIL modules are they better their listening, understanding, speaking, reading, also writing, but they better their fluency, and they acquire a large quantity of spoken language. They increase their vocabulary, the morphology, the technical language, yes, because it depends on the subject of the CLIL lesson. The creativity, because they have to solve a problem and create a product at the end of the lesson. And then obviously collaborative skills, soft skills, and then they develop thinking skills. So they don't memorize knowledge, but they produce knowledge. So involving learners in whatever there is to be learned seems to be the crucial point, and we know that it's true. It's very difficult to get our students interested in what we teach, but the task for CLIL teachers enable learners to become more engaged and in meaningful interaction in a foreign language. So it's important that we create a rich input with the video clips, flash animations, web quest, podcast, other interactive material. So we have to interest students, something that can challenge students with tasks or create opportunities for meaningful language output. Then we have to plan a great scaffolding, and I'm talking about language scaffolding and cognitive scaffolding. They need, for example, tables which can be chunks of language or substitution tables to support their communication, or also glossaries or everything I will show you later. But they also need some cognitive scaffoldings to understand better the topic of the lesson. So for example, you can use infographics, you can use mind maps, which are also visuals and not only written tests. And then obviously rich interaction through students. We have to think that we have to focus our attention on the planning of activities that can let our students talk, speak, discuss, and create together. So there is also a lot about mediating, finding a mediation. And then thinking skills, we talked about it. So you have to follow the Bloom pyramid while planning the activities of your CLIL lessons. Scaffolding, this is very important. Yes, we have to support students during all the learning process. And when we plan a lesson, we have to predict the scaffolding, the language scaffolding, and the cognitive scaffolding students can need. For example, you can provide language frames, example sentences. You can provide instructions for the tasks, but not what they have to do, but just the instructions. I mean the steps. You should, for example, first read the test and then underline maybe, or taking some notes, and then you have to, so writing, giving just the instructions. Then I put this slide because I want to focus that on the fact that sometimes the teacher have to predict the language students will need, but there will be also a language that will we cannot plan in advance because it will emerge through the learning process in the discussions of the students. So in this case, we have to be very fast to support students in that precise moment. So when we create a CLIL lesson, these are just 4 steps, but there are many others. But just we must be sure of the content because the content is the first step. So everything starts from the content and not from the language. So I don't think, okay, my students have to learn the present continuous. No, you have to start from the content. So today we will talk about, I don't know, for example, earthquakes. Because in science, I'm studying earthquakes. Okay, so what do I need? I need some videos, I need some flashcards, I need some pictures. Then I have to think about my objectives. What do I want my students know about earthquakes? I want them to know the phenomena, or I want them to be aware of the process they have to, the things they have to do in case of emergency. So I have to focus on the objective. And then I have to prepare the activities following the pyramid Bloom, the Bloom pyramid, from the easiest to the most difficult. And then I have to analyze all the language scaffolding and all the cognitive scaffolding they will need. I want to give you some ideas just to arouse the students' curiosity about the topics, because normally I don't go inside my classroom. I don't say, okay, today I will give you a lesson about the locomotor system. Okay, no, I don't say that. I try to raise their curiosity in this way. These are just a few ideas. Okay, analyze the title, then ask 3 questions about it. Title, pollution. Okay, we are talking about pollution, but where, in which, are you curious about that? What do you want to know? What do you already know? Okay, this is just a word. Or look at the picture and guess the content of the lesson. Maybe they don't know who is this person, but they can try to understand or to guess. Or look at the picture and guess the content of the lesson. Maybe they know this image and they can try to understand, but they can tell it in different ways. We can collect all the ideas, and then obviously at the end we have to say, okay, yes, the topic of the lesson is this. Or look at the picture and guess the content of the lesson, for example. Or read the words and guess the content of the lesson. So you can see this is Egypt. Or, this is more mysterious, analyze the mysterious boxes and guess the topic of the lesson. So I can ask my students to move the boxes and try to understand what is inside. So I have to prepare 3 boxes with 3 things that can bring them to guess the topic. Or, for example, analyze the element in the slide and guess the topic of the lesson. It's very nice. When I see the slide, I often laugh because I normally use my husband. And once he was a pharaoh, and another time he was a king, because I normally had to this slide also something audio, with the voice of the person. So they have to they listen, they see, they touch. So it's mysterious and interesting. Or analyze the cover of the book, guess the topic of the today lesson. It's something related to it. So the gladiator, for example. This is nice. For example, what does the word mean or make you think of? DNA. So this is a difficult topic, but I'm talking to teachers in general. So students draw a diagram like this one, and they write their ideas. Each space, one space for student. So we start from what they already know. Or you can do it also by with a web tool. This is three-sider. If you don't want to use the paper, so in case you are doing a distance learning, you can use this. Ideas for language scaffolding. There are many things you can prepare, but the most common are, okay, for example, language frame. If I ask this, what is this and where is it? This is part of my town. It is, they are thermal baths, Roman thermal baths. So I prepared, for example, this one, which is called the substitution table, where students can bring one piece from the gray column, one piece from the green column, and one piece from the orange column. It's a way to let them be supported while creating the sentence. This is an interesting place where Romans living in the past came to relax and have a bath, for example. Okay? They can create the sentences. Or there were statues with images related to water, no? For example, beautiful mosaics with images related to water, okay? But they can create different sentences. Or you can give pieces of language. They are called chunks of language. This is in Italian, yes. In the first or second picture, this is the starting part of the sentence. I can see, according to me, etc., etc. Then it's very important that you put everything you create for your lesson in a book, in a sort of manual or diary, so you know that they already know these chunks of language because you used in a previous CLIL lesson. So it's very important that you use chunks of language. You repropose them in a second lesson, maybe in another lesson. So the more we use the chunks of language, the more chunks of language they know. Ideas for cognitive scaffolding. For example, infographics. They are very important because normally we have students with some problems in learning, and watching is important for them. Thematic maps or mind maps. You can also create by yourself these mind maps, or you can ask your students create the mind maps. Then some ideas for the task cycle. So you have to consider that in a CLIL lesson, there is also a pre-task, which is a sort of preparation just to introduce the topic. Then you have a task cycle with some activities that follow the Bloom pyramid. So, for example, reflect. Mesopotamia means between two lakes, between two rivers, between two mountains. What's the meaning? So I ask students to discuss in groups. I give this map. They start talking, and then they give their solution. Then they discuss the solution and they socialize the solution to the class. And in the end, we give, obviously, we give the real meaning of the Mesopotamian word. Then spot the differences, talk with your group's classmates and spot the differences, then share the results. Okay, yes, this is just a game, but when they spot the differences, they analyze the landscape. And they use the words, obviously. There are different topics, tasks. I just take some activities from different lessons. For example, match images with words. Hypocenter, seismic waves, core, fault line, etc., etc. This is obviously, this is the low level. Remembering, recall information, and understanding. Or, for example, how would you complete the following sentences with just a word? And this is the low level because they are not using a lot of thinking skills. Or scan keywords. This is a nice game. This is a total physical response game. We give students a sheet with a test, and then they have to run to the teacher and read one word that we have on a label that is part of the test, obviously. They have to go back to their desk. They have to read the test and scan the word and then underline, for example, or circle the word. In this case, they learn the words, they learn reading, and the more they go back and forth, they understand the reading. For example, this is ancient Egypt. If I give, this is an example of the previous activity. For example, the teacher can have the label scribe or scribes, or River Nile, Pharaoh, along, etc. Then there is also another task, traffic light, just to learn the topic and learn how to read. You give a test, and then they have to underline in red what they don't understand at all, in yellow what they are not sure about, and in green what they perfectly understand. And then they can socialize with the friends. And if something that I underlined in red is green in my classmate test, I can ask him, oh, can you explain to me what is the meaning of? Then this is vanishing words. For vanishing words, you have to write a test. It's better than slide, but you can also do it with paper, but the slide is better. And you can show a test. Then a test with some dots, and then a test with other dots, the same test but other dots, and then the test with other dots. So I want you to show the Earth is like a big puzzle. The pieces are called tectonic plates. When tectonic plates collide, called the tectonic plates. When tectonic plates collide, an earthquake happens. The place where the earthquake happens under the Earth's surface is called, etc., etc. Then we go. The Earth is like a big puzzle. The pieces are called tectonic plates, etc., etc. So the more you go on, the more there are dots. And in the end, they normally do the test by heart. This is running dictation. It is a game, total physical response with tests. You have to divide the class in groups and to put one writer per group with a piece of paper and a pen on his desk. While the others run to the teacher, read one sentence and go back, dictate the sentence to the writer, and then when they finish, they check if he wrote well or not. In case they can also correct, and then they give a 5 to the second runner. And So until the test is finished. Then another game is question loops. You give these labels, a piece of black and a piece of red, so to different people. And one black starts, one pupil with the black label starts, and the person who has the other part read his part. Then, for example, these circle only the words that have a connection with pollution, for example. You give lots of words. You can also use experiments, obviously. But you can also use debates. For example, you give a claim. Immigrants are a treasure for the countries that host them. And then you can ask your students debate. Obviously, this is good for secondary schools. It's more difficult for primary school students. Or you can also use, I don't know if you know the game Taboo, but I created a new version which is called New Taboo or Reverse Taboo, in which you see a student has to define a word, describe a word using these words. It's a sort of scaffolding. Obviously, the classmates have to guess. Or, for example, you can ask students to find keywords, because if they find the keywords, it's obvious that they know the topic. With the keywords, they can create word clouds, and you can use web tools for these. Then you can organize your knowledge. This is the creation, so it's something that asks for the higher thinking skills. So the organization of the knowledge in a map made together with inside the group. For example, this Discovery of America. They can write the date, they can write the place, etc., etc. Okay? Or create a glossary. Students can create a glossary which can be just a written glossary, or something like this, or something like this. But it's better if you leave them free. Or analyze the data and create a graphic or an infographic. Or create a crossword. I go back a few slides. If you ask your students, for example, to find keywords, you can ask them to create a crossword with the keywords that they found before. This is just an example. You can also use a web tool for this. Or this is a mind map. Okay, so before planning, you have to think about what content can I choose. Is it close to my students' world, or it's something that is completely far from their world? Is the content part of the curriculum? I'm talking about the content curriculum. Is it a cross-curriculum topic? Because in this case, I can also ask my colleague to work on this topic together with me. What kind of thinking skills do I have to include in my plan? How can I help my students while accomplishing the task? What kind of language scaffolding, content scaffolding do I have to plan? And how can I evaluate the results of my CLIL lesson? The evaluation is something that is normally very difficult, but you can also plan the evaluation. Okay, these are the verbs that I showed you before. And now let's see some ideas about environmental care CLIL lesson. I just published this book, which is called Little Citizens, together with Letizia Cinganotto. These are from Pearson. Oh, Pearson, yes. And it is about the Agenda 2030 in the primary school. But you can also use it in secondary school, because you can hide the level of the you can just hide the level. Why is this book interesting? Because normally in CLIL it's very difficult to plan the activities. In this case, I started from the I will show you. Okay, this part has the lesson objectives. For example, in climate change, I wrote reflecting on climate change damages and the personal behavior, talking about personal initiatives to prevent further damages and to help solve the already existing ones. Then I already considered all the communication objectives and all the lexicon and the grammar that I can predict, obviously. And then the content. My content in this lesson is understanding the climate change, the causes and the effects, and knowing Greta Thunberg and the movement she created. And then this is the cognition, so all the thinking skills I introduced in this lesson, because it's a complete lesson. And then the culture. So the cultural aspect, environmental problem in the world, global movements. Then you find in this book all the pre-task activities. So for example, the images or the videos that can help you present and introduce the topic. In this case, I asked them to work on the words activist, activism, and action. And I asked them to discuss and to talk about these words. And then I let them know something about the Greta and her character to complete Greta's passport. Then to reflect about the word global warming. I don't want to tell them global warming is blah, 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 blah. But I asked them, what is global warming? Okay, discuss and give me a definition of global warming for what you already know. Okay? Look at these images. Maybe these images can help you. And then you see that there is also the language scaffolding here. So the book provides also the language scaffolding. It's in Italian, but as we are talking about CLIL, maybe also foreign teachers like you can use this book, because you can do CLIL, first of all, trying to understand Italian, but there are also obviously English sentences. Then here we start with the task cycle, and with the task cycle we go inside the topic of the climate change, and I ask for the analysis of some images to understand the causes of the global warming and then the effects. And then all these things that you see here, for example, the passport, the images, the scaffolding, the flashcards, everything is in this book, because you can scan. Let me show you. You can scan these, the QR code. And when you scan the QR code, you have all the materials. You can print it and use it. Then there is also a test. How green are you? Oh, okay. So the tasks, there are lots of tasks. And then there is the post-task phase. The post-task phase is something which is about evaluation. There are some kinds of evaluation because you have a subject evaluation, so an evaluation of the topic content, okay, and an evaluation of the parts you learned in the foreign language. So with a CLIL lesson, I can point to two objectives, dual focused, and then I can also evaluate language and content together. Okay. And then there is also space for the creativity, because in this case, for example, there is a rap song, but in the other modules, there are different things. Before closing this part of the presentation, I want to show you there are also other things that I wrote, obviously in Italian, but you should use Google Translate in this case. For Pearson, one is called Active Citizen, Yes CLIL Can, with a lesson for a lesson about the citizenship. Okay, it's completely different from what you find here. And then yes, you can find something also in this one. This is the yes, this is the link. This is the link. Yes, CLIL Can. But there is also another one. Maybe I can show you later. I would like now, if Angeliki, yes, Angeliki told me that I can. I would like to show you a video, which is the narration of a CLIL module that was 3 months long, and it is about earthquakes.
Okay.
We won a prize with this module, and I would like to show you.
Marina, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I will stop the recording. I will pause the recording here because of the students' faces. On with the recording.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thank you very, very much. Also, there are very great comments and congratulations in the chat box. But I kept three questions here.
Yes.
The first one is which is the level of students we should have in mind when planning a CLIL lesson?
Okay. When I plan the CLIL lesson, I normally plan the lesson for my students, for my class. So you don't have to plan a very difficult lesson if your students don't have a very good level of English. But the class you saw you watched in the movie, in the video clip, was inspiring and was a success because there were two girls that started all the success of the CLIL lesson in my class because they wanted to have a try, and then the other students understood that they could do it. They could have a just trying. I don't know if I can explain, but all the activities in CLIL are games, movement, and something to do together. So the more they are together, the more they feel supported each other. I don't know how to say. When I wrote this one, I thought of my actual classes. They are not so good. They are not so good because they just started CLIL. Because you know that last year we had the problem with the coronavirus, and this year the same. So their level is not very good. I have
Marina, that
a
we
third
did it
class.
last year
So
with our training project. At
its
least
level
a
is not
part
very
of
good.
it
Yes.
was
So I thought about a
based on the
medium
CLIL,
level,
as you
but you
mentioned
can
earlier, about global warming and so on.
you
Some parts
can
of it.
change the level and better it if you have a better class, obviously.
No. Yes, of course, but in some kind of the idea was applied in the project that we did about the scaffolding, the language scaffolding, and the grammar. Yes. So
The students,
the
but
second
the
question
students
is
are not the students
this:
you
will all the
you knew
pupils
in my
feel
class. No,
motivated to
this
learn
is
a foreign language?
yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes. Okay, to be honest, I, if you consider a class of 20, 25 students, 25 students, you have two or three that you don't succeed in having them in the CLIL, but not only in the CLIL lesson, you don't succeed in having them in the lesson. I mean, because they don't. I don't know. Maybe they are shy, or they
And
don't love
one more
to. They
question.
don't like to
I
speak.
didn't
They don't
understand it
like
very well, but
like
maybe you
to
are
communicate.
the expert and you
Maybe they are
can
afraid. So
highlight how
normally
much
you
code
can
switching is
have all the
recommended.
class included in the CLIL lesson. Yes, because they are
Rosa
games.
asked how
They
much
are games.
switching is recommended. Yes, code switching. I think that I wrote
Sorry,
it
can you
very
repeat?
well, but
How
it
much?
is this code switching is recommended. How much?
Can you write the question,
Yes.
because there is a word that I can't. Sometimes it jumps. The connection jumps.
Okay.
Yes, the code switching. Yes.
Okay.
How much the code
There
switching
are
in the
no other
lesson?
questions. At least
Oh,
I couldn't
it depends. It depends. It's up to the
keep any
students.
other
But I don't
questions.
say don't speak
If there
Italian.
is no other
If they
question, I
need
would like
to
to
say
thank you very
something in
much,
Italian,
Marina,
they
for
can.
all these inspiring ideas and
Not all the sentence,
interesting
or not all the
things about
speech,
CLIL
but they can
she
use
shared
both
with us. The
languages.
presentation and the recording will be available in the experts page. And I would like to remind you also the previous activities that we have in Creative Classroom. And the deadline is on 15th of November. And I don't know if Marina would like to suggest a task for all of us. Okay.
Yes, but before this, I would like to answer to Rosa. Rosa, she asked how to integrate in a secondary school, how to integrate the role of a language teacher and the role of a subject teacher. It's very difficult, I think, for a secondary school teachers to not to collaborate, but to find a way to plan together. So it's up to the teachers to find a moment to plan together the lesson. But if a language teacher can collaborate with a subject teacher, and they have at least 1 hour that they can stay together in the class, it could be really good. Or if the subject teacher has a competence in language, obviously this could be the best thing to do. So it is possible to integrate, and I think that in secondary school, especially in Italy, because in secondary school it's
okay. Thank you very much, Marina. I think
students
it was
of
Esther's
the
question.
fifth
So
classes
Esther,
had to do CLIL.
Marina
It's very
answered
important
it.
that the teachers
She said
collaborate
about
and do
lower
something
secondary.
together. They have to find a moment to do it together, or at least to plan together the activities.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Yes, but it's the same, because I think maybe she's Italian. Yes, the teacher who is asking is Italian. Yes, because in Italy, secondary,
Okay.
lower secondary or
And
upper secondary school
do you
teachers
have
have
do you have a
different
task for
different
the members
hours.
of the Creative
Sometimes in
Classroom
primary
group to
school
suggest
we are
regarding the
together
CLIL
in the same
methodology?
hour, but not for secondary schools. So it's important that you find a moment to collaborate, communicate, and to plan together. Yes. Oh, the task, yes, to experiment at least, at least, yes, to experiment something. So, for example, about the climate change, I think that's different levels. You can propose one of the activities to guess the topic of your lesson. First of all, maybe you can use some of the activities I proposed, or you can create one different activity, and then you can plan by yourself one activity about the global warming, maybe something about analyzing some images.
Okay, then I will announce the activity.
Yes, something
And then
analyzing,
we will gather
and
all of them,
you
and
should
maybe we
create
can
a
create as
first
a group a book
language
about
scaffolding. Yes, please.
CLIL
If you
ideas
plan
and
just one or two
activities,
activities, it's good, but just have a
from
try,
members.
because you will see that it will be really a great success.
Thank you very much. Always. Thank you very much, Marina.